Imagine this. You're standing in the smoldering wreckage of a social execution. Perhaps it was a partner who decided your stock had plummeted, leaving you for a better investment. Perhaps it was a circle of friends who began to treat your presence like background noise, a utility to be used and then muted. Your primate brain, wired for survival and tribal belonging, screams at you to perform. It demands that you post the thirst trap. It demands that you share the cryptic quote about loyalty, or that you send that desperate 3-page manifesto explaining exactly how much they've hurt you. You want to be seen. You want to prove that you are still breathing, still relevant, still a stakeholder in their reality. But you are making a fatal strategic error. In the Machiavellian theater of power, the moment you attempt to prove your worth to those who have devalued you, you have already conceded the throne. You are not a king. You are a court jester begging for a laugh from an audience that has already left the building. The truth that the modern ego finds most unpalatable is that your greatest leverage lies in your absolute, terrifying absence. Today, in an era where every heartbeat is digitized and every passing whim is broadcasted to the masses, the most devastating strike to the human ego is not a shout, but a void. When you disappear, when you delete the apps, silence the notifications, and vanish from the geographical and digital maps of your enemies, you are not retreating. You are initiating a psychological siege. By providing no data, you leave the other person with nothing but the deafening roar of their own projections. In the absence of your voice, they will invent 1,000 versions of you. And because the human mind is a factory of neurosis and guilt, those versions will eventually begin to haunt them. You aren't just leaving the room. You are occupying the very center of their consciousness by becoming a ghost. Observe. Observe the archetypal subject of our 2D animated drama, a frantic, jagged-lined character clutching a glowing smartphone, checking his ex-partner's stories for a sign of suffering. He wants to see the revenge body progress, the grind set posts, the forced smiles at a bar. He wants to see the effort because effort implies that he still matters. He wants to see you trying to shock him because that means he is still the center of your gravity. But when there is nothing, when the account is dark and the mutual friends have no updates, the information vacuum begins to take hold. This is the Zeigarnik Effect in its most lethal form, the human brain's inability to find peace with an unfinished narrative. By denying them closure, by denying them the data of your recovery, you have turned yourself into an infinite loop in their prefrontal cortex. You have achieved the ultimate strategic advantage. You have become an enigma, and an enigma is impossible to dismiss. You must understand that power in any dynamic flows toward the person who can contain themselves. While they are out in the world performing their best life for an audience of digital ghosts, you are practicing a perverted, high-order form of stoic austerity. Marcus Aurelius spoke of the inner citadel, a fortress within the mind that no external storm could breach. To disappear is to move your headquarters into that citadel and pull up the drawbridge. You are not ghosting out of immaturity. You are conducting a masterclass in emotional sovereignty. Why would you waste your finite temporal capital, the only currency that truly matters, trying to negotiate with people who have already declared you bankrupt? To explain yourself is to give them a piece of your power. To justify your exit is to admit that they have a right to hold you accountable. But you are a sovereign state of one. When you disappear, you are declaring that your reasons are your own, and that they are no longer high enough stakeholders to merit a briefing. This is the monk mode of the strategist, a period of tactical invisibility. In this phase, you are the 2D vector-animated protagonist who has stepped off the screen and into the shadows. You aren't doing it for them, though that is the initial fuel that burns in the furnace of your resentment. You are doing it to reclaim the focus that has been fragmented by the chase. Every hour you spent wondering what they thought of you is an hour you stole from your own empire. Every dollar you spent trying to maintain an image for their benefit is a brick you removed from your own monument. To disappear is to initiate a total market crash on your attention. You are the central bank, and you have just hiked the interest rates on your presence to a level no one can afford. Stop. Stop for a moment and look at the satirical comedy of your own desperation. You think you need their shock to feel successful? You think their regret is the trophy you're hunting? That is the lingering sickness of the subordinate. The master knows that the ultimate revenge is not their regret, but your own indifference. But to get to indifference, you must first pass through the void. You must be willing to let them think they won. You must be willing to let them tell a story where you are the villain, the loser, or the one who just couldn't handle it. Let them have the script. While they are busy directing a play that no one is watching, you are in the dark, silent workshop of your own potential, sharpening the blade of a success so absolute that it won't just shock them, it will render their entire reality obsolete.
The silence you have created is not a hollow space. It is a pressurized chamber where the weak are crushed and the sovereign are forged. While the world outside continues its frantic 2D animated scurry, chasing the breadcrumbs of likes and the temporary relief of being seen, the individual in the shadows has begun a process of radical internal restructuring. Observe the psychological mechanics of the information vacuum you have unleashed. To those left behind, your absence is a glitch in their matrix. They are used to the predictable rhythm of social feedback, the constant ping-pong of attention. When you stop returning the serve, the game breaks. They are forced to sit in the quiet room of their own consequences, wondering if they were the reason you left, or worse, if they were so insignificant that you didn't even bother to say goodbye. This is the art of the ghost. Not a retreat of the defeated, but the calculated withdrawal of a high-value asset from a low-yield market. In this dark workshop of the soul, you are practicing what Seneca described as the withdrawal into the self, but with a sharp, Machiavellian edge. You are not just finding peace, you are hoarding resources. You have realized that your temporal capital, the hours of your day, the neural firings of your focus, is the only thing that cannot be printed by a central bank. Every moment you previously spent managing the optics of your life for the benefit of those who devalued you was a form of self-inflicted poverty. But now, in the fog of your disappearance, you have become a producer of your own reality. Look at the satirical contrast. While your ex-partner is posting vibe updates to prove they are thriving, you are in a deep work state, rebuilding your financial fortress, sculpting your physical temple, and hardening your mental armor. They are performing a movie for an audience that is shrinking. You are building an empire in a room with no windows. You must confront the provocation of your own lingering attachments. Why is there still a phantom limb that reaches for the phone? Why do you still harbor a secret desire for them to see the new you? That is the peasant mindset trying to pull you back into the mud. The true Machiavellian master understands that the shock is not a result of your effort to impress, but a byproduct of your absolute transformation. If you are doing the work so they can see it, you are still their slave. You are merely a different kind of puppet, dancing to a different tune, but still tethered to their approval. To truly disappear is to reach a state of apatheia, a stoic indifference where their opinion of your success is as relevant as the weather on a planet you no longer inhabit. You are not getting back at them. You are moving to a plane of existence where they no longer have the clearance to perceive you.
Consider the humorous desperation of the left-behinds in our vector-animated world. They start to ask mutual friends about you. They accidentally view your old, dormant profiles. They are looking for a crack in the fog, a sign that you are still the same manageable, predictable creature they once knew. But the fog is absolute. You have become a black swan event in their lives, an unpredictable, high-impact force that they cannot calculate. This is where the dark work pays its highest dividends. By the time you choose to reappear, if you choose to at all, the version of you they once owned or dismissed will be dead. In its place will be a sovereign individual whose success is not a scream for attention, but a quiet, crushing fact of nature. The efficiency of this silence is terrifying. You have removed the friction of social negotiation. No more explaining your goals to people who don't want you to reach them. No more checking in with people who only want to check your progress so they can feel better about their own lack of it. You are practicing the 48th law, the art of assuming formlessness. Like water, you have filled the vessel of your own potential without a sound. And while they are still arguing over the old script, you have already moved on to the next act, the next city, the next version of yourself. The success that will eventually shock them is not a flashy car or a superficial upgrade. It is the terrifying, calm authority of a person who has finally learned to be their own source of light. Stop being a consumer of your own drama. You have been playing the role of the victim because it's a role with a built-in audience, but the theater is bankrupt and the actors are all tired. To disappear is to burn the theater down and walk into the cool, dark night of your own autonomy. You are reclaiming the power of the unknown. In the ancient maps, the unexplored areas were marked with the phrase, "Here be dragons." By disappearing, you are becoming that dragon. You are building a life of such immense. As the season of your invisibility reaches its zenith, the shock you intended as a weapon begins to transform into something much more profound, a shield. You began this journey with a heart full of venom, a 2D animated protagonist fueled by the petty human desire to see them regret their choice. You wanted to walk back into the room like a cinematic explosion, draped in the spoils of your success, just to watch their faces crumble in the high-definition realization of what they lost. But a strange thing happens when you sit in the silence long enough. The air in your inner citadel begins to clear. The shock you were preparing for them starts to hit you instead. You realize that the version of them you were trying to impress is a ghost, a low-resolution memory that no longer has a seat at your table. You aren't just winning the war, you're realizing the war was a playground squabble and you've already graduated. In this satirical finale of the social hunt, the real success isn't the car, the title, or the aesthetic upgrade. It's the moment you look at a photo of the person who broke you and feel absolutely nothing. Not anger, not triumph, not even a lingering "I told you so." Just a profound, scientific indifference. You have achieved the ultimate Machiavellian subversion. You have won the game by realizing the game was an illusion. The success that shocks them is your total lack of need for their shock. Imagine the scene in our vector-animated world. They finally see you after a year of silence. You look better. You carry yourself with the weight of a person who owns their time, and you speak with the calm authority of a sovereign. They expect a gotcha moment, a hint of bitterness, or a desperate display of your new status, but you give them the most devastating response possible. A polite, distant smile that says, "I remember your face, but I've forgotten your power." You must realize that the people you left behind are still playing in the 2D world of comparative status. They are still measuring their worth by who they know and who they can influence. By disappearing and evolving, you have moved into a three-dimensional reality. You are no longer a character they can interact with. You are the architect of your own environment. This is the monk mode graduation ceremony. Epictetus taught that no man is free who is not master of himself, and you have finally claimed that mastery. You have stopped being a consumer of their drama and started being a creator of your own peace. The trauma that once defined your disappearance has been recycled into the fuel for your rebirth. You are no longer ghosting to hurt them. You are living because you finally met yourself.
Observe the final satirical collapse of their influence. They try to reach out. A like on an old post, a "hey, saw this and thought of you" text. These are the desperate hooks of a drowning ego trying to pull you back into the water. But you are the shore. You are the immovable land that doesn't react to the splashing of the waves. In the vector-animated world of your new life, your character has leveled up to a point where their attacks don't even register on your health bar. You have detached your sense of self from the external validation of the collective. You have found the quiet war and won it, not by destroying the enemy, but by outgrowing the battlefield. You have realized that the most powerful thing you can do with your life is to become a person they can no longer find, even when you are standing right in front of them. This is the moment of emotional freedom. You are standing on a hill of your own making, looking out at a horizon that is no longer cluttered by the ghosts of your past. The shock was just the bait you used to catch your own greatness. You have shed the need for an audience. You have found that the most satisfying success is the one that happens in the dark, in the quiet, and for no one but yourself. You are no longer the one who disappeared. You are the one who finally arrived. The silence of your presence is now louder than any shout you could have ever managed. You are reborn, unburdened, and entirely your own. You have achieved the ultimate Stoic victory. The world no longer happens to you. You happen to the world. The greatest shock you can ever give them is to become someone who doesn't even remember why they wanted to shock them in the first place.